Hello everyone, today I'll be reviewing Jaws. So Jaws was directed by Steven Spielberg and it came out in 1975 and it stars Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss. And this film is set on a place called Amity Island in New England. And at the start of the film we see a woman is attacked by a shark and her body washes up on shore. So Police Chief Martin Brody, played by Roy Scheider, he wants to shut down the beaches until this shark is caught. But the mayor of the town, he doesn't think this is a good idea because he thinks if they shut down the beaches then it's going to have a negative impact on the island's income. The 4th of July is coming up and there's going to be lots of tourists coming to the area, and if they shut the beaches down, the town is going to lose a lot of money. So later on what happens is that somebody else dies. Roy Scheider's character Martin Brody decides to set off to catch and kill this shark, along with a marine biologist played by Richard Dreyfuss and also a professional shark hunter played by Robert Shaw. This film is often thought to be the first modern summer blockbuster, and by that I mean that this was a film that lots of people went to see. People would queue up for ages to go to see this, and this film was absolutely massive at the box office. It became the highest grossing film of all time when it came out, and it wasn't until 2 years after this, when the first Star Wars film came out, when it was beaten. I cannot talk about this film without mentioning the score by John Williams. That music when a shark is arriving, the dum dum dum, everybody knows it even if you haven't heard the film, and that's why it's so iconic, is that almost half of this film could be said it was due to the incredible music. The music is actually very simple. It's not a particularly complicated piece of music that we get when the shark is approaching, but it just says so much, just with the tension and the constant build-up getting louder and louder. It's almost symbolic of the shark getting closer and closer, and you know that danger is about to happen as soon as you hear it. You know that things are turning bad for the worse. Now, in terms of the acting in this film, I think it's very good. The three main characters really see the relationship between the three of them. There's some great scenes when they're on the boat and they're having a laugh, comparing their scars and talking about their past. The three main characters are very different. So Roy Scheider, Martin Brody, he's a police chief. He's always looking out for the town. Then we get Richard Dreyfuss's character, Hooper. He's a marine biologist. Maybe he's a little bit on the nerdy side, but he certainly knows what he's talking about. He knows a lot about sharks. And then we get Robert Shaw's character, Quint, who is a really sort of tough as nails, working class guy who's done lots of fishing in his life and wants to go out there and catch the shark and kill it and bring it back. So what is quite good about this film is that with the shark itself, we don't actually really see the shark until about an hour in the film. So in the early scenes, when the shark attacks happen, we see things from the shark's point of view. So the camera will be in the water and it'll be moving up towards the surface to where the person is on the surface of the water. And it's all very clever because although we don't actually see the shark, we know exactly what's happening. With that excellent score by John Williams going on in the background, we really get a sense of danger. Throughout the rest of the film, often what happens is that you might see the top of the shark in the water, or there might be something attached to the shark. Like there's a scene where Jaws, he rips this piece of the pier off and we just see a piece of the pier floating and then turning around the shark comes back again. But we know exactly what's happening. We don't need to see the shark. We know that it's bad, that the shark is coming the other way. Then there's later scene where these barrels which are attached to the shark, when they shoot the shark, and we see the barrels moving about the place and we know that the shark is nearby. So this film actually won 3 different Oscars. So it won the Oscar for Best Sound, Best Original Film Score by John Williams, which is no surprise, and also Best Film Editing. And this film did have a few sequels. There was Jaws 2, Jaws 3D, and Jaws The Revenge. I actually haven't seen any of the sequels. None of the sequels were directed by Steven Spielberg like this one. And, well, apparently what I've heard, none of the sequels are as good. I haven't seen them, so I can't actually say my opinion on them, but I'm not particularly bothered about seeing the rest of the sequels. I don't think any of them are supposed to have been as good. And this film has inspired lots of other films, lots of these sea monster movies, things like Piranha and Lake Placid. You can see so many films have been inspired by this film. But I don't really think any of those films that have been inspired by it are necessarily as good as this film. I really think this still holds up very well today. It's still a very well-known movie today, even if, well, now it's been 45 years since the film came out. And I think it has aged very well. Now, lots of people will say, yeah, the shark that looks fake, it doesn't look realistic. What they would do now, they would do CGI with the shark. And sometimes that doesn't always look as good. You'll be surprised. But like I said, a lot of the time in this film, we don't necessarily see the shark anyway. Steven Spielberg has said that the reason that there's not many scenes with the shark is that they did have some slight problems with the animatronic shark. So they instead just decided to show things from the shark's point of view and just have John Williams' score playing. And I think that works perfectly fine. I think it works very well, in fact. Yeah, to be honest, there isn't really anything that I don't like about this film. I think it moves incredibly well. I think it's aged very well. I think the characters are very good. The music is absolutely superb. And Jaws, as a character for the film, is always a character which we want to chase after. We want to know where Jaws is. We want to see what he's going to do next, what boat he's going to attack, and what's going on, really. So Jaws is a movie I'd recommend for absolutely everyone. I think everybody can enjoy this. Obviously, it's a little bit scary, but really, I think, you know, a movie about a shark, it's exactly what you expect. I think now we've seen so many films that have been inspired by this that when you go back and watch something like this, it is really nice just to see the original one, which might have inspired loads of other shark-related or sea monster films. So I am going to give Jaws a rating of 10 out of 10. I think it's a brilliant film and a very easy watching film because, you know, it's exactly what you expect. You know what's going to, well, you don't know what's going to happen, but you know the general direction the story is going to. If you haven't heard of this film before, then, well, I'm quite surprised, to be honest, if you haven't heard of it, because it's a very well-known film. But the plot's very straightforward, and it keeps you entertained the whole way through. You constantly want to know what's going to happen with the shark and who Jaws is going to strike next. So there we go. So that is Jaws. So what do you guys think? Have you seen Jaws? If you haven't, why not? You should go and see it. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.